due to popular demand, we had to put a pod together. We're here. We're doing it. Much to my chagrin, busy week, but desperate times call for desperate measures. Shout out to the sponsor, Titties, as you can see here, paying for this week's opening segment of the episode, and paying for the introduction for the freshly shaved, bald aficionado. I don't know your team name anymore, Mr. Purcell. How you doing, man?
Doing good, doing good. A lot of these teams know this name, recognizing it. They're about to be seeing this some more as time goes on.
Nice.
So,
Little Shadur action.
oh yeah,
Big buff boys.
I'm gonna have to bust it out on Josh when his week comes up.
There it goes. There it goes. But yeah, man. So we're just gonna get right into it. We're just gonna no dilly dallying. Just gonna let's get this going. Oh God, sorry. Little booze going on.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Also, got to give a little shout out to Larceny for sponsoring
Mm,
this week's pod on my end. They're
how
paying the
weed
internet
is
bill this
that?
month.
So nice and
Oh, my
weeded.
mom actually bought it for me.
There you go. Let's see.
Oh yeah.
Man, I'm struggling a little bit here. Let's go. All right. Can you see my screen this time? I know last week
Oh,
you couldn't.
it's sharing this time. My background showing too, so I think it was probably my bandwidth last time. I hadn't
Mm,
paid the bill, so
well,
they pressed rock.
we're just gonna get right into it. Rip the band-aid off. We're going nowhere quick, man. I talked all that shit to Ryan last week, and the boys put up 68 points. I saw Aaron Jones was out Monday night. I said I don't give a shit. We're just gonna let it happen. Get rolled over, get fucked up. It's all good. We're gonna bounce back strong next week. But man, Ryan's team solid day. No points from the defense. I felt gave me some confidence going into Sunday, but just some really nice performances by Gabe Davis, Travis Kelce. Ridley had a nice touchdown, and Russ, again proved to be a good starter for him. So yeah, just kind of ran into it a little bit, and my team just sucks. I wouldn't even say ran into it. I just kind of underperformed.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Dobbs has actually had some good weeks here. Just you didn't get the greatest one out of him, and then Russ actually performed for once. So yeah, it's Russ had a rough start. He's been kind of coming back, and he's been looking good. Overall, wouldn't be too concerned. Your team's looking good, and honestly, you know, Team Tunget over here, the team excelled in some spots, and then like I would say somewhat underperformed in others. I think he expected a lot more out of Devontae after what he did to me when I played him, and then nothing out of the defense. But yeah, I'd say overall I wouldn't sweat it too much. And then yeah, Tunget throat yogurt might be somewhat making a comeback here. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the team's put up solid numbers pretty much every week this year. Just kind of got in some bad matchups, but yeah, it's kind of shocking you bring up Devontae going against his old team in Green Bay and only gets 4 targets and 4 catches. So I think moving forward he's going to get a lot more involved. This team's going to be dangerous, and DeAndre Swift continues to prove that he's a guy. So man, we're starting out strong here with the bad teams. Yeah, Team Nate coming out here swinging it again. I think that's 3 straight wins against I'm on a new level who falls to 0-5. Man, just tough to see over there. But yeah, man, Team Nate rocking and rolling. It's pretty impressive that his flex and his RB2 were both waiver wire pickups. And now we know that Jonathan Taylor's going to come back. So it's this team's only looking up. Cole Kmet's on the up. DeAndre Hopkins had a nice day. Dak only got 3 points and he still got 32 and a half, or 132 and a half. So this team's going to be good, man. I like this team starting guys, and they're just going to be trouble to deal with all year, I think, at this point. And then I'm on a new level. It's just finally get that big day out of Burrow that you've been missing all year, but the rest of the team didn't get the memo. Amon Ra out with an injury last week. Gino on bye, but I think he's starting Burrow anyway. But Javonte's injured, so a little bit of issues there on the injury front. But man, it's just another abysmal week for Georgia and the boys here.
Yeah, it's a tough one for sure. And what do you call it? You see Dak only put up 3.2 fantasy points, and you think, oh man, I might have a decent shot this week, and then the team still puts up 130. Like not many teams in the league even can contend with that. But yeah, I think for George having Burrow coming back, that's going to be the up and up. I think what's kind of hurting him is some of these Denver players, just like even though Russ might be putting up big fantasy points, it's going to be week to week with Judy, and then
Yeah.
Samaje. Just I
And
had him
Javante, yeah, it's just not.
2 years ago. I wasn't super impressed with him. It's hit or miss, but yeah, I think once St. Brown, once he can roster him back again, between him and Jefferson, I think you're good in the receiver field.
Yeah,
Other
but
than
when
that,
you know
looking
when
pretty
does it
good.
come time to just play for next year, man? Like 0-5, you can climb out of it at this point, but man, it's you're getting to a point to where you probably 2 to 3 more losses, and you're probably calling it a year.
Yeah, at this point, like you're probably this is kind of where Nate was last year, and you got a decision to make. Do you want that first draft pick? I'd probably say yes, and then selectively try to beat some teams I might want to knock out of like standing if I think I got a shot. But other than that, I'd probably be shooting for that first pick. So
Yeah, just unfortunate to see for a guy that had a lot of success last year.
Diggs
Um,
Diggs is looking awesome, by the way.
yeah, he is as expected. But
Yep.
yeah, how's your ass feeling after this one? Because
I
you got bent over a barrel here, buddy.
It's
Uh,
frustrating when like you put up 130 plus points and you still get blown out of the water, and that's just the luck of my team this whole season. I think I've had one game where I was sub 100. The rest, have been like pretty decent performances, and then go figure I'm talking smack to Tyler, and he comes in and just like blows me away.
yeah,
So
man.
yeah, not much I can say here. He had a fantastic week. And yeah, it's almost all Chase obviously was like ridiculous, but it wasn't just Chase that won this game for him. Everyone performed.
Up
So
to down, man. ETN to I mean, everyone else was just solid. I mean, Schultz had a nice touchdown, and I think that's 2 or 3 nice games in a row for Schultz here after starting a little slow. There's two nice games in a row here, but yeah,
and I even looked.
it's a good
Oh wow,
team.
yep, yep. And I
Uh,
looked. I could have even plugged in Zach Moss with James Cook, and I still
wouldn't have
wouldn't have beat.
mattered.
There just
Yeah.
wasn't enough points even on the bench to pull this one off. So
Yeah, just I
that
mean,
might be one of the
176
highest.
is a big number.
That's one of the highest scores I think we're going to see all season. For
Yeah.
the sake of this league, I hope that tampers down more to like 120, 130 range for Team Coleman, because otherwise this guy's going to keep blowing people out of the water.
Well, yeah, I don't think he's going to live in this world where I mean he's had weeks where he's struggled to get 100 points, but yeah, I mean ETN ascended and another mediocre day from Pierce, but yeah, I mean Jamar Chase after making comments after the game last or 2 weeks ago at this point, you kind of expected he was going to have a nice day.
Yeah,
Rashi
they got to
Rice,
get him the
nice
ball.
plug and play there. That worked out well with 11 points. So, good roster, solid team. 176 is a gargantuan number. And then as far as your team goes, yeah, 131 beats 7 other teams. So nice to see you get something out of Waller. Cool to see that Cup and Puka are going to be viable together. It seems like at least for right now. And then you still got options. I think Zach Moss is only going to get worse for you as the year goes on, just because of yeah, they're gonna put Taylor back in there. They just paid him a bunch of money. He's gonna get the ball. So he might be like a plug and play, worst case scenario kind of guy. But yeah, I mean Keenan Allen on bye, so you got nothing to worry about, I don't think. I think your team will bounce back here soon. So but yeah,
Oh
it
yeah,
just
just
kind of
got
stinks to put up 131 and then lose by 45. So it is what it
yeah,
is. But
not
you
even
just
close.
you just shake the coach's hand at the end of the week and just say good game and you move on.
Yeah, that's how this one was.
Yeah, 2 teams you would have beat by 30 here. Risky versus Wuhan. Yeah, a lot of narratives you could run here. I'll just say for Risky, nice to see Goddard finally get going again because he had a really rough start. This team, like I've said all year, this roster is really, really good. And finally getting healthy a little bit here. Saquon should be back soon. I think this week, probably upcoming. So yeah, it seemed like it's better. But yeah, it's 100 points, nothing fantastic. But yeah, solid gets the win here against the Wuhan team that has been putting up 120, 130, 140 pretty consistently here, and channeling his 2022 self, dropping a 93 bomb here, and just a little bit rough day. No one really had Kirk had a fine day, but everyone else kind of pedestrian level, and I don't have room to talk as far as team scores go, but yeah, I mean, this is a team that's been putting up a lot of points, and just to come out here and not hit 100 after being so successful has to have you a slight bit concerned just as far as the consistency factor. But the guy's 3-2, he's second in the league with that record, so at the end of the day, not much to be concerned about.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaways for me on this one, I agree with all of that, is you know, Risky was pretty pumped up about getting Ramondre, and then he just has not performed the way that we expected him to this year.
Well, that
And I
offense
think
is putrid, man. They're so bad.
that whole team, man, quarterback on down. So that's a tough one, because otherwise that would have been a stellar running back. So once Barkley's back, I think this team's going to be throwing up 10 plus more points per week.
And Achane's out on IR, and then Jeff Wilson's coming back slowly. So Mostert's going to be the guy in Miami, and just as long as he's on the field, he's going to be putting up big numbers. So.
Oh yeah. Now coming over to Weezer here, though, the one big thing that stands out to me is he started Michael Thomas, and Jacoby Myers, not obviously the greatest receiver, and but he had a softer matchup against that Green Bay defense, and he performed.
Well, look, man. I mean, this
He's
guy's
been
played 4
consistent all year.
games, but I mean,
Yeah.
he's had 3 games in double digits, and two large games. So yeah,
I'd
I
say
mean,
this decision cost him this week for sure.
Yeah. And when Pittman in the flex, and Pittman's been really solid this year. But yeah, Michael Thomas has been pretty solid too. But
I think I would have
model
probably
of consistency
bumped him, though.
here. Yeah. I would say. And then did he? Well, that's right. He was hurt, so he didn't even play last week. So
And he's missing out on points here because once he's back, especially with Burrow looking the way he's looking now, you're going to get some serious points out of Higgins as well.
I think so. Yeah, and I can
again.
see a nice insertion of points here from Jeff Wilson. Coming up here, could get Miles Sanders out of there. He's not looked good in Carolina. That team just kind of stinks, so it kind of is what it is. But yeah, Jeff Wilson should be a nice insertion, take over and compete with Mostert to put up points. So
T. Higgins being out did not help my situation this week against Chase. That's for sure.
yeah, no kidding. But I mean, both solid rosters here, both good teams. Just it's kind of interesting. We have a 3-2 in 8th place, and then a 3-2 in 2nd place. Just kind of goes to show you how kind of tight we're rocking right now. But moving on to the guy who's in 1st place, did some milking on the milkman this week. Lays a little hammer out, even though with Anthony Richardson going out in the 2nd quarter, still lays a fat old 143 thanks to DJ Moore on Thursday night. Pickens, much to chagrin of Ravens fans, catches a game-winning touchdown, and just okay performances up and down. Tony Pollard really hasn't gotten going yet, so this team's only going to get, I think, better. Be interesting to see what his quarterback situation, because we already know Deshaun's going to be out moving forward, and Richardson on IR, so I'm not sure who he picked up, but I'm sure we'll see when we do the look ahead. And then looking over at Milkman here, went with the bold play to sit Stroud after Justin Fields looked pretty good 2 weeks ago. Fields throws up 40 points. Would it have been enough to win? I don't know off the top of my head.
Been shy a little bit still.
Yeah, I think it's a little short, but tough bye week. Still puts up 107. Herbert gets hurt as well, so just again, this team's really, really good. Another huge week by Tyreek. So this team's still going to be, I think, one of the more formidable teams to face every week going forward, especially now that most of his roster has passed the bye week as far as contributing players go. So yeah, and he's got Deontay Johnson coming back soon. So yeah, just a good team. And not a bad performance with 107, but just kind of ran into what looks like to be the team that's really asserting themselves as the team to beat here.
This team's a lot like my team last year. Running back on down, you have pretty solid staffing for all your positions, and then week to week, the game is going to depend on who you plug into quarterback and how they perform. And clearly, he made the wrong decision this week. Like you brought up, wouldn't have mattered either way. But week to week, he's going to have a tough decision to make between Fields and Stroud, depending on who the matchup is against. So
Yeah, and it's one of those things too where you could look into possibly trading one of these guys to a team that needs a quarterback per se upgrade, and add a little bit of running back help or a little bit more depth to this team just because
like
it's
or something.
yeah, you're just in a tough spot when you got to make tough decisions starting quarterbacks because I mean both Stroud's proven he's a good player and Fields is really ascending these last couple of weeks, so it's tough. What do you want to do? It makes it a lot harder for you than it needs to be, I think. So
Yeah, this might be one of those deals where even though the Bears have been kind of like not performing, you got that dynamic quarterback. You're getting those rushing points. You might want to just stick with them and play them week to week, and then kind of like the situation I'm in with Hurts.
Yeah, and I think he's in a good spot here having Roshan as well because Khalil's going to be out for a little bit. So Roshan Johnson's going to be the RB1, so that's going to play nicely as well with this team. So a lot of Bears, but that team last couple of weeks has played pretty well. But yeah, no, these teams, this could be another possible championship.
Yeah, this team here worries me. Team Bucher.
Yeah. Like I said, Pollard really hasn't gotten going yet, and Henry's been very spotty. So putting up 143 with basically no quarterback and your two big boys running the ball, not really doing too much. And Kenneth Walker was on bye. So just a really, really strong team, man. They're gonna be tough to beat. So I think they have separated themselves a little bit as far as the echelon of teams for right now. So
that's a down week for Richardson too. You're probably going to get 20 fantasy points.
Well, he got hurt his second quarter. He injured his shoulder, so he's on IR now. So he's going to be out for a bit. So unfortunate there, but yeah, I mean he's been a fantasy stud when he's been able to stay on the field. But
that explains the running back points.
Yeah, and he's had to. He's already been taken out of 2 games already and missed a start. So, guy's really talented, but he's got to learn to slide and avoid contact because clearly he's injury prone a little bit. So then going to our last review here, Rearview Camera versus the Rock Boys, both really solid weeks. Not surprising to see Breece Hall pop off for Rearview after getting the comments from the head coach last week. Lamar with a down fantasy week. Sucks when your receivers drop 185 yards and 3 touchdowns for you. Kind of hurts your fantasy scoring as well. Didn't matter, didn't need it. Laporta seems to be quite a stud find. Jets defense rocks the rolls against Chef Russ. And then Rock Boys here, solid day. You can't be mad at 125. Just ran into a team that played well and a lot of solid days. I know I criticized the Adam Thielen play. Clearly that worked out for him there. Hunter Henry didn't do much, and that probably could have been the difference there. But other than that, this team again. I think Ed's team is finding themselves at 3-2 right now, where these guys are trying to start to find their roles with these teams. Ed's just doing what he always does, man. Just finds his way to stay afloat in the early part of the year, finds his way in the playoffs, and makes some noise. And Rock Boys, again, it's a solid team, solid performance. Really, really tight league right now. So just should be fun to see these two teams going forward, what they do.
Yeah, but with Rock Boys, what cost them is the tight end position. Hunter Henry putting up no points, and then on the bench you got Logan Thomas with 15 plus points. So that's upsetting. That would have been definitely the difference in this week. And I think the lesson to take away from what we've seen between Mike's team and Josh's team is you just can't trust this New England offense for points. Mac Jones is just trash. They barely have the ball throughout the game. It's constantly
and they don't move the ball.
Yep. So it's Hunter Henry might be a fine tight end normally, but it's a tough one this season. And like Washington's been playing all right. I'd probably start leaning on Logan Thomas a little more than Hunter Henry.
Henry did have a nice start to the year.
Mac Jones had a good first game or two too.
Yeah, so. First 2 he had 14 points, but after that it's been tough sledding. But yeah, and also you got to see Eckler's coming back this week for Josh, so it's only going to make this team better.
David Montgomery's been great for Josh. That guy's been awesome. I'm glad he's rostering him now.
and he's gonna be getting the ball moving forward. I think Gibbs is already out this upcoming week, and they already said Montgomery's the lead back the rest of the way the season. It sounds like, and
Yep.
so it sucks for Ed with Gibbs that that's not going to work out for him. He's a second round pick, but man, David Montgomery's been a really huge surprise to me. But yeah, no, like these two teams are really good. I think they're both setting themselves up for a nice run at the end of the season. So kind of starting to get some separation here with myself and George kind of being these teams that aren't moving in the right direction. Everyone else kind of seems to be gathering momentum, getting their starting lineups together, and really starting to gel and get it figured out. So yeah, anything else to add?
If I was Ed, probably the one move I would make is he seems to have two solid tight ends. I'd probably try to trade one away for a running
Yeah,
back.
and I honestly know that he is trying to move them, move Kittle specifically. I'm not trying to throw his laundry out there for people, but
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, if you
he
need a
knows I'm
tight end,
interested. So
well, I clearly the Rock Boys could use upper echelon tight end to make their team better, and they have the pieces I think in the running back department to help Ed out to where it's a win-win kind of trade. Not trying to do the trade for him, but it seems like these are pretty good trade candidates together here. Just kind of looking at it here, but yeah,
oh
so
yeah.
that's just my take. But and then moving forward here, it's a little wonky this week because we already had a game going, but we can still figure it out.
I'm sitting on three good running backs too. So
Yeah, very true. But
yeah.
here we are, you and I facing
Oh
off.
yeah.
Pacheco, I'll take 12, 13 points out of him. No problem with that. Sutton was ass all game, just caught a touchdown at the end there. So don't regret really benching him. I got the DeMercado, the hot trash off the waiver wire this week, thanks to my positioning. So I feel like my projection is a little low, honestly. But I would not be surprised if I didn't pass it just because how my team's been performing. And I've talked to you about your team enough to know that you got a really solid squad up and down. I'm gonna need some guys to not show up, maybe a couple of injuries, maybe some flukes, maybe some weird stuff. I think it's possible that I could win, but I really wouldn't consider it likely.
I would say that this game is. I think the fantasy projection had it at about like a when we started off like a 10-point difference.
That
And
feels
obviously with Pacheco coming short a couple points, it's adjusted. But I'll have players do the same. I think this is going to be closer than it's projected, to be honest, because week to week I've been having someone that always fails me in the running back department, and it's usually between either every week usually Mixon, Cook, or Brian Robinson will like fail me. So somewhere I'm going to like lack points. And then one thing I'm torn on is, Nico Collins has been popping off.
yeah,
Nakua's
leave him on the
getting
bench,
ball
man.
share.
Leave him on the bench. You
Yep.
don't need him.
Right. And honestly, I'm kind of leaning towards swapping them out with Puka.
It's tough.
But it's a tough one because then like what if Puka gets like those scoring touchdowns and Cooper doesn't? So it's. But I'll say I'm definitely a little nervous about this week. Teams looking good up and down. That Miami defense is going to put up a lot more than 9 points, I believe.
I think
And then
so too. Yeah.
Rashad White, if the momentum starts going against Detroit, and it's going to be a tough matchup.
Well,
for
I
them.
honestly think they're going to be playing from behind a little bit and throwing screens, throwing dump offs. We love that. So,
Yeah.
but I'll be curious to see how DeMercado does because I probably would have started probably Sutton or somebody else. So bar's kind of set. 12 points, 12.5 points is still 12.5 points. So on the bench it kind of stinks, but yeah, I think I think you take this one down, and I probably think you think the same, but yeah. So moving on to the next one here. Oh yes, it updated the teams. That's so nice. Yeah, we got Coleman here versus Team Nate. A lot of 3-2 matchup this week, it would appear. Just
Close
this is
one it's
my
looking like.
yeah, this one's a half point game, so this one's real close. Just kind of going down the list here real quick for the first time because again, desperate times call for desperate measures. The guys wanted the pod. We got to get them the pod. Just off first glance, I like Team Nate's matchups better when it's a game this close projection wise. I just look to see who's got the better matchups. And Bijan's going against a really bad Washington team. Kyrie's going against Arizona. Komet and Minnesota. That should be a fun one. And then Saints against Houston. Saints got a good defense, so I think that's going to be fine there. And then kind of sliding over to Team Coleman here. ETN, the Jags don't play the Colts that well, generally speaking. Since he seems to be figuring something out a little bit, so I think Chase has an okay day. But those corners for Seattle are really good. Saints defense is good against Schultz, so just kind of looking at like that from that perspective, it really seems like these guys kind of have some tougher matchups on Team Coleman. So I'm gonna lean Team Nate here, and I think probably Stephon Diggs blows that 16 prediction out of the water.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm probably gonna lean Team Nate as well. But there is definitely something that's like glaring out at me that's like bothering me, and I'm sure you're seeing it too. So,
Well,
what would you
enlighten
do in
me.
that flex? What would you do in that flex position?
For Team Nate,
Yeah,
that's
it's
tough,
tough. It
man.
could go either way, but
Well, if Achane's healthy, it's no brainer. But yeah, I want to see it from Jonathan Taylor before I put him in there. I don't love Tyler Lockett, but kind of can combat Metcalf a little bit there. Hopefully,
Lockett looked good the week I played Nate.
yeah,
But then the
he'll do
Jonathan Taylor
that.
situation, I think that's a way under projection. I think that this is just me guessing, but I'm thinking this is his first week really getting a lot of the what do you call it, percentage of the
Yeah, I just want to
snaps.
see it with him first. I feel
That's
like he's
safe
a
for
talented
sure.
player, but I I don't feel like you need to force the issue putting him in the starting lineup. You've put up plenty of points without him all year, so why don't you see
This
it
is this
first
is
and then see from there? So
this is definitely a safer move. Um, I think if you were willing to gamble, you could almost and you hit the jackpot on it, and he does end up getting most of the snaps, then that 11.4 could easily be like a
well, look, if you're
17.4.
playing against me or George, sure, take the risk. But when you're in a tight matchup like this one, I would feel more comfortable taking the safe bet versus the riskier play. That's just
Because he's
me,
going to
but
put up 11.3. Lockett will, I think. So that is fair.
and
Maybe
who
more
was
Cincy.
Nate's quarterback before? Because I only was it
So he
always
dropped Dak.
hmm
I want to say that Nick picked him up, and then he plugged in Stafford, and I'm kicking myself in the ass because I haven't picked up a second quarterback that I need for my bye week yet, and there's nothing really great sitting out there, and Stafford would have been a really nice
yeah.
pickup for that. So I
See
thought about it, and
mm,
I forgot to make it happen. So, and I would have beat him on the waiver wire because I'm sitting worse than him. So
yeah, which is good for Nate, honestly. But so you're leaning Team Nate here?
yeah, I'm leaning Team Nate. Although it could be close. I think it's going to come down to who puts up who
Who has
blows out
the
their projection between
Chase and
Chase and Diggs.
Stakes? Yep.
Yeah.
I kind of was looking at that too. I think that's going to be the deciding factor. So moving on here to teams that have had some action already laid upon them, so it's kind of skewed, but yeah, I mean that really definitely skews the idea. But I don't think either of us would have picked George to win here. Mahomes has an okay day. Mahomes has not been. I mean, he's fantasy quarterback 9, but you draft him to be top 3, top 4.
And
So
when you pick them so early too, you're
right,
kind of like giving up more. So I think that Mike was counting on getting a lot more points out of him this season than he's been getting. And
and
this
I
might
think you
be
will, but
up to this point, that's definitely what's keeping him down there at 8th and not at first, because we thought this was probably the best team going into the season.
yeah, because I mean, looking at Mahomes, I mean, he's pretty much been projected almost 30 points every week, and most he's
Yeah.
gotten is 26. So
I'm getting more out of Jalen than he's getting out of Mahomes. So
right. So, and I think that'll swing a little bit here at some point moving forward, but able to plug Saquon back in. So I just think kind of Mike rolls to a relatively easy win here. Mostert's
yeah,
going to get all the carries against Carolina. Just, man, I feel bad for George because I liked his team initial. Justin Jefferson goes to IR. Writing's kind of on the wall with his team that it's just kind of over. And it kind of stinks when it's October 13th and your season's kind of over. I mean, I appreciate him making moves to get Osborne and trying to figure something out for these guys. And but man, it's just been a tough sled for this guy this year, and it sucks to see.
Yeah, the most he can do right now is, probably try to make some trades to get a keeper that he wants, because there's nothing that's really, maybe keep Burrow and then you got a QB, but outside of that,
And then
there's
you get
nothing.
into a tough decision too, where Justin Jefferson would be his first round pick. So, do you want to be the 101 and lock yourself into Justin Jefferson? My brain says yes, because that's who I would take if he was available anyway. But at the same time, being able to keep Amon Ra in the second, and then and draft Jefferson with the 101 or go a different direction, because no need to make a keeper when you have the first pick on your first rounder. But
He
yeah,
might
so
he
just
might be able to make some moves to get someone else to
yeah,
keep at a lower level. So
yeah,
yeah, this guy needs to be
it's
focused on
interesting.
that and not,
Yeah, I mean,
especially.
honestly, you could move Justin Jefferson even right now when he's on IR to a lot of these teams,
Yeah,
and get a nice return and maybe get a deeper value keeper. But that's for him to decide how he wants to handle his business. But yeah, it just kind of stinks. We got to be talking the same narrative about this team that have potential, but just nothing there. So risky takes it
highest
easy.
yeah highest scoring team last year, week to week, lowest this year. So it's sad to see the decline.
Yeah, but moving on here to a fresh slate, we got Wuhan versus Milkman. Shout out to Ryan for the behind the scenes view of how Wuhan is preparing this week. He seems to be very locked in, very open to receiving some help from his teams through any cracks that may be available to them. So, yeah, it's McCaffrey. Do you think that them going to Cleveland, Deshaun Watson out? Just going to be interesting. Got Miles Sanders in there. Miles Sanders is out. So we'll see if he makes the roster move. I assume he will because he's in contention. Chuba Hubbard should be quite a nice start for him. So we'll see what he does with the flex here. Got Higgins and Debo in there again. And then Green Bay Packers are on bye. So guy's got some work to do to get his roster ready for Sunday. I'm sure he will. And then just kind of sliding over to Milkman here. Got Fields back in there. He said, no thanks, CJ Stroud. We had a good run, but no thank you. Jerome Ford's interesting. It's going to be because who's PJ Walker is going to be starting against that 49ers defense this week. So
Yep.
I expect a blowout in that game, a lot of passing. So Cooper should have an okay day, but I say that, but the Niners defense is really, really good. So the Browns could just not move the ball at all.
Yeah.
Just kind of looking at some of the matchups up and down here. Assuming that Wuhan gets his lineup straight, I'm going to lean Wuhan here. Going to probably get 10 points from my defense he adds, and probably going to get at least 10 points from Chuba. So with that assertion, it makes this a lot closer. I'm just going to say that McCaffrey's probably going to beat that 21 point projection, which is really high for a running back. But yeah, I just think his team has better matchups, better week.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go Wuhan on this one as well. Even not knowing what his defense he's plugging in, as long as you plug something in there, you'll be fine. Because the big one for this is with Watson out. I just think that the Cleveland's going to get minimal, especially up against you call it San Fran. They're not gonna have the ball a lot. When they do, they're probably gonna be running it more than passing it. They're not gonna run far. Amari Cooper's probably not gonna get much of anything, even though he'll probably be one of the highest targeted receivers, if not the
I
highest.
could see Bill's defense being a saving grace here for him a little bit.
They're going to get more points than they're projected. They're
I would
looking at, I
agree.
would put them up closer to 20 for sure against the Giants. But
Yeah.
I mean, that could even climb up to 30 with the amount of turnovers the Giants have been giving up week to week. So yeah,
Oh,
that might be his saving grace. But
is
yeah,
Roshan out? Was I mistaken? Questionable, so he might play. But yeah, so I just kind of move on here. Teams been put up points all year. Better matchup. So
Yeah,
we
sure.
weaves through the cracks here, if you will, and really slides through and gets a nice win here for the boys over the Milkman. So
And McCaffrey's just been putting up ridiculous points. So you
yeah, he's
project at
still
21, I'd say that's low, you know?
well based off what you're seeing other than last week against Dallas. I mean,
Yeah. you're looking at, you average it out, it's probably sitting at like 30, 35 points per game, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's been quite good. Average is 26.8. So there you go.
Okay.
And then
Mine because of the last week. Yep.
yeah, it brings it down a little bit, but yeah, still 27 points a week out of your running backs pretty damn good. You know, Tonkat versus Rock Boys here. I would have said if Kelsey was going to get you 18 points this week, I was going to think you had a really good chance. Went with Russell again for week 3 straight. That did not work out for him. Based off projections and stuff, I probably would have leaned Tonkat here before these games play, but obviously now with the swing a little bit, so we're not going to keep these as official picks just because we have a little bit of bonus information, not true to the fans, not true to the game. So I like to keep things above water here. So we're just kind of looking at it. I could see Devontae having a huge game. Gus could have a nice day. I think Ryan's team, that 118 is a very fine number to have for that team, but I just think Rock Boys kind of comes out here and just keeps asserting themselves as a dominant team. Eckler's back. We know how that's going to go. Montgomery continues to be an absolute beast. Kamara has been a pleasant surprise, kind of getting back to himself a couple of years ago. And yeah, this team's looking really good. Did assert Logan Thomas into the lineup, heeding your advice that you gave 10 minutes ago. So we definitely heard you in that time period. So yeah, but so I'm gonna say Rock Boys here gets it done. These running backs are gonna be a little too much to handle. Tonkat falls to 2 and 4.
Oh yeah, I think I'm going to lean Rock Boys on this one too. I mean, the writing was on the wall with Russ. Like, yeah, he put up some big games, but he's up against Kansas City, man. Like, come on, like, he's definitely probably a better quarterback than Trevor, but when you got Indy that you're up against or Kansas City, that's kind of like, what would you do against San Fran kind of deal. So it's just Kansas City's going to have the ball a lot throughout the game. But hey, it's a tough decision week to week because they both let them down. But I will say Eagles defense has been saving Ryan, and he got 18 points out of his kicker, so he could very well turn this thing around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because Devontae might put up big points.
Mhm.
Swift has been looking good, but he is up against the Jets, so that's going to be tough.
Tough defensive line there to move around. So
yeah. But Josh's team on the other side, like, hey man, like, Chargers are good, but that Dallas defense is something else. I think you're gonna see them back at it again this week. I'm 12 plus points out of the Cowboys for his defense this week. Maher's been a great kicker this year, and then looking up and down his line, Allen, Eckler, Montgomery, Lamb, like these guys are putting up points. I think Josh is going to crack 130 this week. So, and I think he's going to take the win, but I think Ryan's still going to have a good game.
Yeah.
It's just that quarterback move's going to kill him this week, man.
Yeah, he's in need of a quarterback.
Off.
I think he and Zach might be in a good conversation for getting one of those two quarterbacks because I don't feel good about starting either one of these guys week to week. Just kind of just not try to make trades for people. Just it kind of makes sense. Again, Ryan doesn't have the deepest roster in the world, but he needs to upgrade the quarterback position, plain and simple. So, or he's going to be hanging out with me pretty soon. So, I think we both lean Rock Boys here, and I do agree with you. Devontae probably has a monster day today because usually these big time receivers, when they have slow weeks, they usually return with quite a large showing. So, final matchup here, we got Rearview versus Bucher. Projection always heavy against Rearview. This team seems to rise above. Generally, looking at it, when do you make the move to switch Lamar with Brock Purdy? I love Lamar, obviously, but Purdy has been a model of consistency in fantasy football. For some reason, I mean, he's on the best team in football. So,
look who he's up against.
Yeah, but even just like with Purdy, man, like he's just been so consistent all year, and he's quarterback 7 in fantasy. Just other than a little slow, but of late, really solid numbers. And Lamar, you can either get 40 or you can get 10, and there's no real in between, it seems to be. But just kind of going up down here, Team Bucher slides in Dak for the start. Kind of lucks out with that. Team Nate dropping him to be able to put a pretty solid quarterback in there as your starter when Richardson goes to IR and Watson's shoulder is fucked. So yeah, I don't need to spend too much time here. Team Bucher is by far the best team in the league roster wise. So I think these projections hold true. Probably runs up a 10, 20, 30 point win. It could fall anywhere in between there, but this one I don't think it's going to be too close. And not a knock against Rearview. I think this team still probably beats his projection as they do most weeks, but
There's a reason he's in first.
Yeah. There's a reason this guy is doing as well as he's doing. I mean, just look at the names of this roster, look at these projections. It's pretty self-explanatory. I think Bucher takes this one easy.
And Dak's been dynamic as well. Runs the ball a good bit. You might get a rushing touchdown out of him. I think that's a fair move. Everyone hates on Dak, but he's either
he hasn't been particularly good in fantasy this year. Looking at these numbers, but
that's true. I like his play style, so we'll see. He might very well improve.
But that being said, you don't get quality guys such as Dak off of waivers too often, and he's only going to probably play better than these numbers have been. So I think it's a very fine move.
Yeah, not much to say here. You know, I like both teams. I really like the receivers on what do you call it, Ed's team with the two Eagles players, but Waddle has been fantastic, and then Moore last week, my God. So like we get even half what we got last week.
Well, and I think that's the scary part with looking at Bucher's team is you have, I mean, Henry, Walker, Waddle, Moore, Andrews, or Pollard could all go for 30 plus points, and you wouldn't be surprised. So it's just it's tough to face team like we talk about Zach's team with Fields and Hill, where one of them can explode and kind of beat you themselves that week. But I mean, he's got 5-6 guys on this roster that can do that. So it's just tough. It's really tough. You know, you got to catch them when they're down. But yeah, I mean, it could be a situation like George where they're the clearly dominant team regular season and then kind of lay an egg in the playoffs. Just they're going to be very week to week as far as things go. But yeah, 9 times out of 10, this team's probably going to win. So
yeah, I'd say the only thing I might consider would be that quarterback move for Ed's team, and then I don't know. That's a tough one with what do you call it? Sam Laporta and Kittle right there, because Kittle.
Yeah, I just don't think you can move Laporta, man. Guy's just been an absolute beast. You know, he's had even his worst week was, you know, really solid. So I mean, you got tight end 1 and tight end 6 here on your roster. So
yeah, definitely got one of those two. You know,
you got to move one, or you double you know, tight end it with one of the flex and one as the starter. And I don't think anyone would be shocked or, you know, question that decision at all. So yeah, I think his team is moving in the right direction though, and I think Bucher's team has clearly said, I got the biggest dick in town, and you're gonna have to beat me to win the championship. So but yeah,
it would be the perfect team to have who put up 170 last week? Tyler come in and knock them out in the playoffs or something.
Well, we talk about that last year in the playoffs. We did have it to where that's why we changed our tiebreaker. Tyler would have played George week 1 of the playoffs last year, and Tyler would have beat him with points. So, and Tyler would have won the tiebreaker if we did it based off points for last year. His records in head-to-head matchups weren't as good, but if we had the points tiebreaker, Tyler takes it down and might even win the league as an 8 seed, which, you know, I think Ed won as a 7, so it can happen. So that's why we changed that. But yeah, it's really been week to week, and kind of looking at the, you know, the league here, it's pretty amazing. 8 through 2, you know, pretty impressive stuff there as far as everybody goes, and then you and Tonkat.
That's sad.
Yeah, you and Tonkat just hanging out, but your projection to make the playoffs is still really good. So you know, and then clearly, you know, myself and George and Ryan are clearly the bottom feeders, as we'll say, of the league this year. It would appear as things stand right now. but yeah, and Team
Injury has
Bucher's.
plagued all of our teams, though, for sure.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting year. But then looking at points for here, Wuhan, there's a reason he's sitting in the 2 spot at 3-2. Those points for Team Bucher, earning that 1 spot with the best record with the second best score. And then you got Milkman, and then it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm on a new level, and then myself. It's funny, 2 weeks ago I think I was third in scoring, and now I'm next to last. So life comes at you fast. So and then points against just for fun. Anybody that's interesting here. Yeah, you're kind of running into a little bit, it seems, with your points against. And then I'm on a
Yeah, it's
level, not needed, but is getting scored on the most of anyone. Just one of those years, man. Your team ain't putting it up, and the other teams are putting it on. So interesting. Milkman's actually getting outscored, and he's still third. That's pretty impressive. And then the rest, Wuhan again doesn't need it. He has the most points for, but he has the least points against, which is also pretty interesting. So just kind of some trends to look at moving forward here. But yeah, just if the season ended today is what we're looking at. Way too early for this, but just for fun. To
Team Nate.
yeah, as deserve, and I think he probably moves in the upward direction
And
as far as
Risky. What
seeding
the
goes.
heck?
Yeah, well, it's a clear cutoff when you got better records. But yeah, we got a lot of ball left, a lot of wins left. But it's these teams that are sitting here now feel pretty good. I think really,
We're
really,
down
really
to bump 7
fun.
and 8 out of there.
It's been really fun though, man. Like this year, this feels like the tightest year we've had, I think, in the league. So it's been really fun to just have
Going
that
by
going
quick,
on.
too.
Yeah, it feels like it is. It's week 6 already. Yeah, it's weird, but no, it's been fun. It's really cool to have this much parity and week to week up and down swings. So with that being said, anything to wrap up the pod with? Any thoughts, any comments about any matchups or just anything in general this weekend?
No, just looking forward to our matchup and seeing how it plays out. And
I'm
honestly, it
not.
looks like there's a lot of close ones. I'd say over half the league looks like they're pretty close matchups. So
Yeah, and I think we're just going to see that all year pretty much from, with a lot of these matchups, it's going to be really, within 3 points, I think, as far as projections go. And that's fun. That's a good thing to have. And I'm just excited Sunday to be able to turn on the Ravens at 9:30 in the morning and pretty much just watch football all day until 11:30 at night. So that's going to be pretty fun. That's what I'm looking forward
oh
to.
yeah,
So, but
for
all right,
sure.
man. Well, thanks for jumping on last minute here. This is going to be a solo ride, but always know I can depend on you when you're hanging out in the trailer park in North Carolina. So,
Oh yeah,
um,
not much going on in the trailer park.
just no Uber Eats or DoorDash, nothing like that.
Nah, we got that pay bump, baby.
Oh, there we go.
Oh yeah, been eating good. I'm
Don't
not
need to
eating
be.
tuna and crackers out here. All right.
Yeah, feel for some guys. Not going to say any names. Just some guys are kind of struggling financially out there, eating some packet salmon with crackers. So just keep an eye out at if we might need to start a league GoFundMe for some guys really struggling with different things from childcare to paying your wife's car and stuff like that. Nothing out of the ordinary. Just need a little pick me up. So with that being said, gonna end the call here and thanks again for joining me.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, good luck, guys.
Talk to you.